Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the afternoon after I completely rip up Vince McMahon and hashtag Fire Vince, which by the way, I'm still tweeting that on Twitter, hashtag Fire Vince. We're right back to the show where I feel like I can go to enjoy wrestling, which again is all I just want to do. I just want to enjoy wrestling. That's all I want to do. And my safe haven right now, the place that I feel like I can enjoy wrestling, is AEW Dynamite. So I'm going to talk about Dynamite. Now, again, this is pre-recorded. This is not live. Again, I'm just behind. So I'm trying to catch up by doing things pre-recorded this week, especially since it's been WrestleMania week and I am drained. But I'm going to be here live. I'm not here live. I'm going to record this, and we'll probably hope we get to SmackDown sometime soon. We will see. But guys, what is going on? This is the Club of the Man 1993. And in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. We're here for my AEW live review, the April 5th, 2023 edition of Dynamite, and it took place in the home of the favorite son, the man who holds the Triple B, Long Island, New York, where we celebrated MJF Day. We also heard from Sammy Guevara, who made his case in the build to the fatal four-way of the four pillars of AEW world title match. That's looking more and more likely it'll happen at Double or Nothing. And I do hope it is saved for Double or Nothing. Of course, there's one more person who has not quite said his whole spew yet. One-on-one, of course. And that is Darby Allin. This week, it was the Spanish god, Sammy Guevara. And we'll go from there. Also, Tony Khan had an announcement to make on this show. Was that announcement worth it? Compared to last time announcing AEW All Access, which, okay, fine, not going to shit on it completely. But again, was it really that big? You know? But we'll get to it. But yes, I thought Dynamite was a great show. It was a breath of fresh air. Unfortunately, though, when I was trying to catch up on it last night, life did catch up to me, and I did doze off between the MJF Day segment, which did go on a little too long, but it was great, and the main event. So I did got off work a little earlier today because Good Friday, it's slow, and I did watch the portion that I slept through as I was doing some laundry. So we are here now to talk about Dynamite. The show opened up with, which also is a little bit of like a sign that Vince McMahon definitely is back in charge now, has a lot more hands on things than we all thought he did. Once again, hashtag Fire Vince. I gotta make some type of TikTok about the Fire Vince stuff. Anyways, because we were having the entrances for a match with Ricky Starks and Juice Robinson. But then the music hit, and officially, All Elite is Switchblade Jay White. I'm looking forward to seeing Jay White in AEW. There were pretty heavy rumors he was close to signing with WWE. which I would have, if Triple H is still in charge, would have been open for. Again, we've had all the big names that I haven't really gotten a big taste of yet, go to AEW. It's been a while since we had one go to WWE. I wonder why. But Jay White is All Elite. He helps Juice Robinson take out Ricky Starks. So I guess maybe at Double or Nothing it's going to be Jay White and Ricky Starks. Jay White again feuding with, Ricky Starks kind of feuding with the Bullet Club. Okay, I'm interested to see it. Again, I still don't know everyone in the Bullet Club that well, but I'm intrigued to see by it. We then have an interview with Chris Jericho talking about why he came out after Daniel Garcia's loss. And Y2J's like, I got no problem with Adam Cole. So it's good to see one of the brothers come back from a serious injury and get a win, and the celebration. But Garcia, he's one of his right-hand men. Great talent, lying in the ring, and Adam punked him out and made him look like trash. So he had to stop the disrespect. So obviously he's hiding that he has some type of a vendetta against Adam Cole, baby! And then Keith Lee comes up. It's been a while since we've seen Keith Lee on Dynamite. He's been, I think, on Rampage more so since he came back. They've kind of randomly cooled off on his build with Swerve. So I'm not sure where they're going with that, but he comes up and says Jericho has been the poster child of disrespect. He himself has had a couple of wars with Adam Cole, and while he's not particularly fond of him, he respects him, and he's proud of that. Which, of course, dating back to, for sure, to their match at NXT Great American Bash back in July of 2020, when Keith Lee beat Adam Cole, ending his long-reigning NXT championship title reign. That's, I think, is still the longest in NXT as far as I know. And becoming both the NXT and the NXT North American champion, which was an awesome surprise. Although somebody, I think, spoiled it on Twitter because it was pre-taped. But anyways, he says, maybe next week in Milwaukee, he'll teach Jericho a thing or two about respect. So we're getting Keith Lee and Chris Jericho next week. That's an awesome first-time match. Of course, again, I'm still going to continue to say this, and I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I don't like the gray-haired Keith Lee. I'm sorry. I love him in the ring. Love his microphone skills. I just don't like the look. I'm sorry. It makes him look so old. Like, can you get a little more color back in that hair, please, Keith? It just bothers me when I see it on TV. It's just not my thing. But we're going to get that next week, which should be a pretty good banger of a match next week. We have the House of Black defending the Trios Tag titles against Best Friends, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, and the AEW International Champion, Orange Cassidy. I believe, I think it was Trent's mom dropped them off. She's still kind of a big hit. Again, here's the only gripe I still have about the Trios Tag titles. It wasn't a super duper long match, but the House of Black do win the match and retain as they should have. Can we get a little more story or character development with these tag titles? Because so far, they feel like workhorse championships. Meaning, you get some people who, like Gunther, who defends his Intercontinental title quite frequently. These Trios Tag titles have been defended quite frequently, of course, with the Best of 7 series with the Elite and Death Triangle. Can we get a little story or character development from these, though? Because, these matches are great. Again, we even had House of Black and the Elite at Revolution, but again, there was no build. Can we at least get a little more build and development? Because right now, I'm not saying the matches are horrible, but these Trios Tag titles are kind of feeling like how they felt when Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy were briefly Raw Tag title champions. They're winning their matches, cool, but there was no character development. So just a little, nitpick there. We also see some tease of Christian Cage and what seemingly was Luchasaurus coming from the dust. Not sure what that's going to be since Christian Cage lost to Jungle Boy. Jamie Hayter and Riho had a pretty good, hard-hitting AEW Women's World title match. Jamie Hayter would retain. Afterwards, we see Renee Paquette backstage with the Outcasts, and they mock applaud Jamie retaining the title, and tell her to enjoy the title while she has it, because either one of them is going to take it from her. I'll have a little bit of a brief, booking scenario for that coming up. But we also have a segment with 2.0 and Jake Hager and the Acclaimed saying down they're going to be taking on each other on Rampage. I don't give a shit about 2.0. I'm sorry. And I still, again, do not like the hat that Jake Hager is so in love with. All right. Then we have the long segment of the night. We have Oyster Bay's MJF Day, which was celebrated from this past Monday. MJF comes out in a suit with a live band. And I think he sung for a little too, which was, different, but he can sing. He welcomes us and introduces the Pennies from Heaven. And again, he ends up singing, and he gets into the ring with the supervisor of the town of Oyster Bay, Joseph Saladino, who was getting booed heavily. But of course, MJF is being welcomed as a hometown hero. Which I believe this was AEW's first trip to Long Island since MJF won the title. Saladino calls Max the pride of Long Island, and says they love the way he wears Long Island so proudly on his sleeve. He's their world champion and their hometown champ, so it's his honor and privilege to present him with the key to Long Island. Today, April 5th, is officially MJF Day. The key presented him earlier in the week was below his standards, so they made him a new and much larger one to give him today. And MJF, of course, then gets on the mic and he starts saying stuff like, he mentions how Jungle Boy, the only thing he's going to have is a girlfriend with a wandering eye and a tiny it, basically. And this isn't a villain or origin story because he's MJF 24/7. He admits he had ADD, which gets an ADD chant. And he tells some story about some 8th grade teacher he had, Miss Benedict, who was unsympathetic towards him and was just was very hard on him. And basically she said that, he would never be a success. And even when he told her he wanted to be a professional wrestler and be a world champion, he said, not happening. He goes, well, Mrs. Benedict, look at me now. So he does his whole spew. And as he goes to leave, he then wants to have an encore with the Pennies from Heaven band. But then he gets distracted by a man clashing cymbals. And MJF yells at him to stay on tempo. But then he unmasks, and the guy in the mask of cymbals is Jungle Boy. So they brawl until they're broken up. And then Sammy Guevara comes out. And as they're getting pulled apart, and then he stares down at the title, threatens to reignite the brawl, but then just brushes it off, goes down, has a pretty good match with Commander, and gets the victory. After the match, though, Sammy Guevara's interviewed. Now, I think this was the right move to do. I mean, it wasn't one-on-one because they're still both technically heels. But I think, to, have the proper, night for Sammy to, say his piece and still get heat for it, be a heel. Because, I'll be honest, these promos that Sammy have cut so far in this build to this Fatal 4-Way have felt very babyface-esque, if you know what I mean. He feels like a babyface. But then he says something to kind of give him the heat. Well, he just had to speak in Long Island to get heat. And he cut this promo saying, I just did something the world champ doesn't do. Wrestle. Was he just watching American Idol? MJF comes out here and says he beat every single one of the pillars, but when they fought one-on-one, him and Sammy, what happened? He goes back to when the only time they fought one-on-one, which was at the final show during the pandemic era in Jacksonville. And he says he had MJF beat until another person he used came out and helped him win. Max didn't beat him. Sean Spears in a chair beat him. They're supposed to be the four pillars building up the company. But MJF's side wasn't built by him. It was built by people he lied to, cheated, and manipulated. And honestly, he's jealous of it. But he's put his heart and soul into this place, and he's not going anywhere. And I said that, I'm like, are you really not going anywhere? Are you trying to, rip off Triple H, saying, we're not going anywhere? But he's basically saying he's all AEW, this, and that. And basically saying he can screw his bidding war of 2024 crap, this and that. This thing, then that. And he says, screw Jungle Boy, screw Darby Allin, and screw MJF because Sammy Guevara is your world heavyweight champion. So that was a good promo by Sammy to kind of get his spew in there. Hook then defeated Ethan Page to retain the FTW World title after Matt Hardy turned on Ethan Page. After the match, Matt Hardy and Cassidy fist bump Hook on their way out. So, does that mean the firm still own their contract? Or, because, okay, I figured they would have Matt, this was something temporarily for Matt to do until Jeff gets back. I don't know if Jeff's coming back yet based off of the fallout from the final decisions made on him. So, I don't know if he's coming back yet or if this just... Who knows what it was, but he turned on Ethan Page, and seeming Isaiah Cassidy did also. All right. Here it comes. Tony Khan's big announcement. First off, we had Nigel McGuinness, who is now all elite after he appeared at Ring of Honor Supercard. AEW has signed Nigel McGuinness after having a solid tenure with WWE. He's backstage getting ready to hype up this big announcement from Tony Khan. And the announcement was... Vince McMahon's all elite. No chance! Yeah, right. Very funny. Had to fool you guys. Yeah, Vince McMahon will never be all elite. Vince McMahon just needs to be fired, sit at home, never work another day in his life again, and just let the wrestling business be. No, damn it, I can't do that. Shut up. Anyways. No. This announcement was actually worth it. Tony says 5 years ago, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Cody Rhodes, yes, he actually said the name of the guy who main evented Night 2 of WrestleMania this past weekend. And the guy got the shit beat out of him on Raw by Brock Lesnar. Cody Rhodes. He said Cody Rhodes. I'm sure Vince would be like, oh, sue that Khan fella. He said the name of one of my guys. So guess what? Cody Rhodes owns everything that he has. So again, Vince, shut up. But anyways, he mentions how they put on a show called All In 5 years ago. And at the time, it was one of the biggest indie shows. At the time, it was actually the biggest. And now, 5 years later, All In is back. So it's like, okay, we're doing All In instead of All Out. Cool, right? Okay, fine. But, not only will that be happening on August 27th, it is going to take place in London, England. The same place where we had Clash at the Castle last fall. Same place where Money in the Bank is going to be this summer on my wedding day, FYI. But is it going to be in the O2 Arena? He then has Adam Cole, which, by the way, they're really pushing for Adam Cole to be liked. They have him announcing All Access. They're hyping up his return pretty hard. They have him announce where the location's going to be. Because I said it was going to be in London, right? Did I mention that it's going to be at the Wembley Stadium? They're going to celebrate 100 years of Wembley and Warner Brothers. August 27th, AEW All In at Wembley Stadium in London, England. Now that is massive. That is big. I think Wembley Stadium can hold 90,000 people? It's been, I think, at least a good 30 years since any wrestling event took place in that stadium. And it's definitely the biggest venue AEW's ever held. That is big. I know Tony Khan, because basically All Out has seemingly always been treated like the AEW's WrestleMania. And of course we're doing All In this year, but you think it will lead to this being a big WrestleMania and we get some big matches? I know of one I think we should do. So, I still think one of the members of the Outcasts is going to dethrone Jamie Hayter at Double or Nothing. I think it's going to happen. What if somehow Britt Baker, I don't know if it will work for the title or not if you put on the Outcast, but I think a match that we should do is definitely Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. I somehow think the title should be on the line and Jamie Hayter wins it back and wins it in London, England. I think that would be big for her. Someone who could get a loud pop in London is Jamie Hayter. So that's one match I would probably book for the show. I'm pretty sure if CM Punk comes back, he will be booked in some big capacity because if you have CM Punk there, it's going to sell out. And again, I don't think AEW's had a chance to have a show in this big of a stadium. So I think they gotta get CM Punk in there if they want to do so. But we had that big announcement, which definitely was worth it. Not a big wet fart like the other thing was, like the All Access thing was. But we didn't have the Blackpool Combat Club's Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta squash some enhancement talent. At ringside with them was the guy who turned heel last week, Bryan Danielson. He gets on the mic and says how he went home, spent time with his family, and he loves his family. But he also loves Jon Moxley. He also loves Claudio Castagnoli. And he also loves Wheeler Yuta and professional wrestling. Everyone else is impotent amateurs. And the four of them are the only professional wrestlers in the building. When he started going off impotent amateurs, when he has Bryan Danielson's a heel and he has those one words impotent, fickle, or now it's amateurs. He really delivers it well. Like I said, I was heartbroken a little in 2018 after Bryan came back. A few months later, turns heel. I was heartbroken. Now I don't care, because to me, Bryan Danielson's proved that he can be either face or heel. He can make you love him to death or hate him to death. And he is very good at generating that heat. But anyways, Hangman Adam Page comes out, and then he tries to, take them all out 3-on-1, but then Bryan just growls at him, calls him an amateur many times. They beat him down, and he says they are professionals and he loves them, but nobody loves Hangman. They say, no one's coming out here. What are you guys you're teaching your kids how to fix up a house? That's what he's teaching his kids as well. So he said AEW needs to be fixed from all these amateurs. And then he pulls out a screwdriver and gouges Hangman's eye out with it. Oh, God. And he did it so, calmly. I mean, Hangman reacted as you would when someone gouges your eye with a screwdriver. But Bryan was just yeah, I just did that. So what? And he says, for what he's seen this week, they're the only real wrestlers in all of America. And I'm like, please let that be a jab at Vince McMahon. I hope to God that was meant to be a jab at Vince McMahon. Is he going to be sitting down with this stupid little mustache growing, ooh, he hurt my feelings. Fuck you. Sorry. Screw you, Vince. Anyways. And then the main event was title versus career. The Guns, Austin and Colton Gunn versus FTR. The only thing that kind of hurt this show a little bit in the second half, I forgot to mention, was the fact that MJF's MJF Day segment did go on just a bit too long. So it definitely hurt it a little bit. So because of that, I think some stuff like this match got cut a little short. One thing I will give the Guns credit for, and again, I don't view the Guns as like people being like, the face of a division right now. I feel like their reign as tag champs has been kind of similar to like what Miz's brief title reign was in 2021 when he cashed in on Drew McIntyre after Bobby Lashley attacked him. Not Vince. Miz was a brief, good transitional champion. And so were the Guns. To me, it was like they play the role of like, okay, we're not really meant to be champions, but they did the right tactics to, make sure they retained. Because they knew that they were people that they were very predictable. Like, I like in this match how when things got very desperate, the Guns were trying to get disqualified. And because they knew they got disqualified, they still won the titles, and FTR technically would not win the titles, so they'd be out of a job. Well, the referee caught onto it, and eventually FTR did win with a stereo folding press, and they saved their careers. Obviously, they were staying. I had no doubt they were leaving, especially, of course, with Vince lurking around. There was no way they were going to go back to WWE. They've definitely re-signed. And afterwards, I like that Mark Briscoe came out and celebrated with them. Again, having that trilogy of that trilogy that they had with FTR and the Briscoes at the Ring of Honor pay-per-views. Rest in peace, Jay White, of course, as well. A nice way to end the show. So that's my review of Dynamite, guys. I gave the show a B+. A B+ because the flow got thrown off a little bit by the MJF thing, but loved a lot of things. Main event, did its job. I'm intrigued by Psycho Bryan Danielson again and his new word, amateurs! Amateurs! And all that jazz. We had that. We had, the trios tag title match was good. Again, I also like the announcement of All In. Sammy Guevara, of course, as well, cutting his, his hype promo for him in the Fatal 4-Way. All around an excellent show. And of course, Jamie Hayter and Rio had a good match as well for the women's title. Give me Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker in All In. Just saying. But that, guys, that's going to do it for my Dynamite review. Again, SmackDown, as I said in my Raw review, will be most likely be pre-recorded. And like I said, depending on how the next episode of SmackDown goes, will depend if I continue to review Raw and SmackDown or if I just pick and choose when. But Dynamite reviews, we're not going anywhere! Yes. And as always, the man himself, I'm not going anywhere! But yeah. So guys, what are your thoughts on Dynamite for this week? And the big announcement about AEW All In taking place at Wembley Stadium in London, England. You guys leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at the Club of the Man 93 and on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. And always remember, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself.